And we're back with the show. This is Gerald Glassford from the Pop Culture Cosmos. My name is Gerald Glassford
Ooh,
once again
that was
from,
nice and smooth like a chai tea latte.
there you go, from Pop Culture Cosmos and Game Source. We truly appreciate you being part of the broadcast again. And it's that time again. It's time for some more pop talk. And, you know, hey, something
Pop
catchy.
talk.
Something catchy. What can I say? And here
Cosmic
back.
Roundtable.
Well, there you go. And here,
Cosmic Crossfire.
there you go. Oh no, that's CNN's deal. Um, and here back again with me again, and here back with me again is my good friend, the director of Nintendo Quest, Missing Mom, and so many other projects, including Kitty, the anthology, and also as well Box Art, the great upcoming series, and he's got a great new documentary that just earned a ton of acclaim last week when it debuted, which he will tell you more about. It's Rob McCallum. How are you, my friend?
Doing well. I love these satellite cross-country international podcasts that we do now that I'm in the Great White North in a whole different time zone, and you are in sunny southwest United States.
Yes. Too sunny. Needs more rain. And then I'm actually going to be speaking to someone later this week from Queensland who wants to be part of the show and come on the air and talk about a lot of great stuff. So that I'm looking forward to that 17-hour time difference as well. So that'll be
Oh,
fun.
well then. I do
Yes.
apologize in advance for all the yawning I'm doing. It has been a very long day up here in Canada. The days are getting shorter, it seems, as we drift into the ether of the slumbering winter. Winter is coming, as they say, right?
Oh my
Winter is
gosh.
coming.
Goes with the Game of Thrones references. My
There you go.
goodness. There you
I still have to get caught up on season 7, part 1. I'm still behind.
I did this past week, and I'm all caught up to date. Josh has finally stopped picking on me for that, so I'm glad I'm caught up to date.
Okay,
And
but here's the difference. In Canada, and this is going to be relevant to our cosmic roundup of pop culture news that has been scattered across the multiverse, so to speak. Okay, in Canada, you cannot get HBO a la carte. You can't just pay $15 for HBO Now.
really,
You have to buy a cable package still in Canada. And it's not just a cable package, you have to buy the premium cable package. So you have to get basic cable, which is like $30 plus your standard channels. Then you have to get the movie channel package, which is another $40. So now you're at 70, and then you have to add HBO on top of that, which is $15. So you have to pay $85 a month to get HBO in Canada. Minimum. No good. It's no good. So that is why I'm behind. When I was in the US, I was an HBO Now subscriber. My subscription does not carry over north of the border. Alas, I have no idea what is going on. I have no idea who the king of the north is, who is occupying Winterfell these days, or what is going on with the Iron Throne. But
well,
hopefully
but
soon.
but
I'll get
hopefully
caught up.
soon.
Well, I
Okay.
mean, they it drops digitally and on disc, I think, on September 25th. So a couple more weeks and I can find out.
All right. Well, don't listen to the rest of our last podcast that we had then.
Okay, well then.
Spoilers were there. So,
Okay.
anyways, there's a lot of great things that out there in the pop culture universe that we need to talk about, and some things that our good friend Mr. Jay Bartlett is also, just like, whoo, he's tuned into as well, knowing him right now. So, well, I'll just let you take it away on some of the hottest pop culture topics that you want to talk about, my friend. So I leave it over to your good hands. What, pray tell, is on your mind?
Well, I think we have to start at the top of this since we discussed it last week, and I know you're expecting us to cover it once again. I'm even sure that you've had some notes jotted down in front of you about this, and that's that J.J. Abrams is in the director and writing seat for Star Wars Episode 9. I know you've got thoughts on this. Is this good, bad, ugly, or sad?
Well, I'll tell you what, I'm not in love with it because I thought he did a great job of reigniting the love for the Star Trek franchise. and also did a very, very commendable job of bringing back around the Star Wars franchise, obviously with The Force Awakens. When he went out about Star Trek Into Darkness, I personally found it enjoyable, almost as enjoyable as his previous film. But I know a lot of people didn't like it as much. But hey, money-wise, it actually made just as much as its predecessors. So that being said, I'm not in love with the prospect of him doing it. I'm I don't know, just something about it just does not, to me, feel right. The fact he's going to be writing and directing it, I think he did a great job on its own, and I think it, like you and I were talking about, it would be great if we could get a fresh face to actually close out this part of the trilogy, on a definite high note as far as from critically and cinematically as well.
Yeah, I think what this comes down to for Lucasfilm is that, and Kathleen Kennedy is the head, this was the safest choice for them to make. They had already an established relationship that clearly went well, as evidenced by the fact that he wasn't fired, unlike everybody else in that's tied to a Star Wars film at this point. It performed well at the box office. He's handled big projects before. He's handled a Star Wars film before. He's gone on the record saying before he was, brought in to do this, that he wished he had not passed up doing episode 8. And at that point, there was still discussion of possibly Rian Johnson taking episode 9, but still being the scribe on episode 8 and 9. So I think it's safe for them to allow Abrams to come in and do this. And I think it's safe for them to keep the Star Wars Skywalker saga legacy tied with less people. It's Abrams and it's Rian Johnson, and that's it for 7, 8, 9. Those are the writers, and Lawrence Kasdan as well, and to a lesser degree Michael Arndt, who was an early writer on episode 7. But between Lawrence Kasdan, J.J. Abrams, and Rian Johnson, that's the trilogy of power for episode 7, 8, and 9, plus Kathleen Kennedy, of course. So it's the safest move possible that Lucasfilm could have done. It's not exciting to me. I found episode 7 kind of bland and not predictable, and I knew what was going to happen plot wise, but predictable in that this isn't a blockbuster movie, so this must feel like a blockbuster movie, and it did. It felt cookie cutter. It felt shellacked and polished the way that it was going to. What I liked about where these other directors were coming in, it was going to give a different sense of style and personality and add a little bit of texture in different places. So maybe Rian Johnson with episode 8 will surprise us. I'm calling it now because he is doing episode 8. It's the Empire slot. He is the different director in this trilogy now. People are going to probably be drawn to that one. I think they're going to like the odd guy out one, so to speak. But I think it's not good, bad, ugly, or sad. I think it's just safe. And oftentimes when you play it safe in the film industry, you don't get the greatest results. Throwing it out there.
No, and I agree with you on that because, and you could just tell from my voice, it's just, it's okay, but I was hoping for something, like I said, a fresh voice that has a genuine love for the Star Wars series to step into that third slot, and because there's so many great filmmakers out there, film directors such as yourself, of course, that could admirably fill the role and actually put something in place that would leave the series on a high note, correct?
Yeah, I mean, and who knows what's going to happen after episode 9. They said the Skywalker story will end. Does anything ever really end with the Disney marketing machine? Never really. I get why that's kind of like the artificial end, but this is too big to ever say this is going to end in any which way. So I don't know that you can ever really go out on a high note. All you can do is really, really take advantage of the opportunity to really make some great cinema at this point, because you've got the budget, you've got the audience, you have the opportunity to do something different. Don't turn out 3 of the same films, because even if the story is good and the script is good, if 3 films all feel the same, then it's going to be a lackluster experience. Sure, you're going to make money, but when you go to sleep at night and you had the chance to do 3 films that were unique and colored and varied in their own ways, still set in a galaxy far, far away. That's far more enticing, and that's going to have a greater impact kind of going forward. I think, honestly, this is right now off the top of my head, the problem with this is it feels like it's Avatar-ish. James Cameron doing all these Avatar films. There's nothing wrong with the films, but they don't have that impact that something like Star Wars does have.
Could get into the like almost like an assembly line format, correct?
Yeah, it's just churning out the widgets. And I understand a lot of this stuff is about trying to understand the process and hone it and get good at it. Filmmaking is very hard, so it's not like, oh, you can just pop this person in and pop this person off and it's just easy. It's not that easy. So the tendency to want to play it safe is completely understood, and it's not lost on me. But like you said, Gerald, there's so many filmmakers that they could go to that would die to have a chance to work with Lucasfilm on this. It just feels like a missed opportunity, ergo possibly resulting in a less impactful film than Episode 9 could have been.
Well, like I said, I agree with you on that. It's there. It's, I'm not like you. I'm not sad about it. I'm not disappointed. Well, I am a little disappointed, I guess. I'm just, could have been something better, but it's going to be something that I guess, like you said, is safe as far as a way to close out the series. I think J.J. Abrams will have something in place that, like we said, he knows how to create these blockbusters. He knows how to manage them. He knows how to deal with obviously Lucasfilm and Kathleen Kennedy, and knows what they want and expect. So he's been able to deliver before for the Star Wars franchise, and I don't see him not being able to do the same. And the third one, it's just like you said, you as a filmmaker and also someone who respects the film art like I do. I was hoping for something a little bit more and a great way to close it out, the series. But then again, episode 10 will probably be, around the corner after that, 2 to 3 years later. So that'll start a whole new chain of events and a whole new trilogy within that realm of the Star Wars universe. So maybe they can go ahead with 3 different Arturs at that point in time.
From one gigantic series and franchise to another, this bit of news I thought was particularly fun and really got my creative juices going about what could happen. Apple and Amazon are now vying for the rights of the James Bond series, okay? And when they get those rights, it actually might lead to a television series for 007. Is it time for Bond to go into a long serialized style of show, maybe akin to like a 24? And where are we at when these digital powerhouses of technology of Apple and Amazon are able to compete for film rights? What are your thoughts on all of that?
Well, I know Josh and I had talked about it on the PCC Multiverse before, as far as the interesting names that came about. He was more looking at the traditional companies, Sony, Universal, 20th Century Fox, vying for those distribution rights. But I kind of think that the Apple and also as well the Amazon, especially Amazon being a major entry as far as for bidding rights, and even Apple, he was kind of worried that because Apple has never really had a property like this per se in the film realm. I said, well, they've had big properties before, including the Beatles albums, which you could say and argue is just as valuable property in pop culture within the realm of entertainment as pretty much anything that's out there. So they're used to handling large properties per se.
I mean, yeah, the fact is that iTunes is, and the whole iOS infrastructure is like the world's #1 way to distribute digital content. So they have their infrastructure to get it out there. They're just going about getting the exclusive rights to stuff at this point, so they don't have to play third party, catch up.
This is true, but I wouldn't count out Disney. I think Disney is not letting on their intentions as of yet, but before the bidding process ends, I think they will put their 2 cents in. Will it be enough? then again, they bought the Star Wars and Marvel franchises. If they go for the James Bond franchise, they probably will go in full board, and definitely will be one to watch as well. But if it goes to of all of them that are out there, I think if it goes to Amazon right now with the distribution platform that they have and all the different resources they could apply, like you said, a James Bond television series, that would be something that would be most intriguing to me. Or Disney, like you said, again, could also distribute very easily a television series through one of its many television outlets as well. So
I don't see Bond going to Disney for the primary fact that they can't sell enough action figures for it. When Disney buys stuff, they have to have a high marketability in there for targeted age groups. Star Wars makes sense, obviously, from the established lines before. Marvel has dozens and dozens of characters. Even with Pixar putting out different films that are targeted at families, they have toy and merchandising, like monetization loops that are there that are known to them. Bond caters to a more adult audience, which is not Disney's, prime kind of distribution model. And it's geared heavily towards like adult males. So again, and because it veers on adult themes of sex and violence, it screams everything that Disney is not. So I really don't see them making a play for the Bond rights just because it doesn't fit their ethos and their infrastructure. I do think Amazon will probably put a really good bid for it, but I think you're going to see it still end up at Sony again, because Sony really doesn't have too much else in their stable. They need to kind of have something there. And even though Bond films don't make as much as they used to, and the rights to having the films, you don't make that much more for having them.
Well, there I disagree with you. Skyfall actually made over $1 billion, and yes, Spectre didn't make $1 billion, but it still made. I think
but you have to factor in the marketing costs on top of that. So like it may have brought in $1 billion, but the production budget for Skyfall I think was what, 300 million, and I think the marketing spend on that was like another 400. So now you're only making $300 million on that movie. And I see you like frantically looking at web pages to bring up the actual stats here. But
well, that's what I'm going to do as far as I see as far as the correlation. Yeah, it's not obviously not since the Sean Connery era where it was made for X amount and
made for 5 and it brought in 60.
Yeah,
like,
so
you don't
I mean
have that 12-to-1 factor anymore.
No.
You are talking billions of dollars. The films do cost hundreds of millions, but the marketing for every Bond film has become such an event, and with theater attendance dropping off, like it's becoming more and more of a gamble to take these rights on. So, and those are the individual films, right? So sure, 300 million to produce it, 400 million to market it. Okay, that's 700 million cost, makes $1 billion. Okay, well, what about the rights to the franchise that you have to basically, depreciate across X number of films? Well, that's probably like another 100 million right there. So now you're only making $200 million. Now, that's still $200 million. But is that where you want to be in terms of a corporation that is looking to make, $500 million off every film? That's why I think it's really up in the air what could happen to it. I, for one, would love to see Bond go to a television series like format where it'd be, 10 episodes long. Bond films are traditionally 2.5 hours anyways. That's like 4 episodes as it is. So like when you have something like Skyfall and how it ties into Casino Royale and how it even ties into Spectre and how it ties into the Quantum of Solace, you can see the underpinnings for something that is a longer form and storytelling there without having the gaps. It'd be easier to cast actors and have a kind of rotating cast of characters that also fit within that series model. And if you go to a series model and somebody doesn't want to be, come back as Bond, then I think it's a little bit more forgiving to kind of go next season, this is the Bond, than it is to kind of drop one guy out or only have
almost like a Doctor Who situation.
Very much so. Very, very much so. I think it's more forgiving. Or you just replace, like, it's a new 007. 007 is just like a call sign, right? It's just an ID. So James Bond might not be the new 007. It could be somebody else. It could be Gerald Glassford.
Well, that being aside the point, you could also put actors or actresses that may or may not have gotten consideration for the film or theatrical version of the character, if it was on a television format, might get more, I should say, love in as far as maybe having a turn at the 007 character in a television format, correct?
Yeah, maybe. I mean, I think at this point though, television is on par with films, and I think theater owners know that. More people usually talk about television series these days than those weekend kind of, box office home runs that kind of come and go. It'll be a Game of Thrones that sustains conversation week after week, or even like a Curb Your Enthusiasm trailer. And I know I'm picking on HBO shows, but like still television and like serialized storytelling ever really since like The Sopranos brought it back into the kind of mainstream to kind of get over that reality TV hump in the early 2000s has really taken the storm in terms of what kind of people prefer to watch. I think, Bond going to a television universe isn't a bad idea, and it's another way to look at James Bond again. I mean, the big thing with the Daniel Craig's first outing, Casino Royale, was that, okay, we're going to reboot it. That was the novelty spin on it. That's why audiences want to get back to see it and see how it kind of all started. Now, what do you do after you've done that reboot and you're like 4 films later? Well, might have to do a format switch. That might be the novelty this time around.
Well, that's definitely some good points indeed. And I hope that it will end somewhere outside of Sony, but I can't say I blame you if you think Sony that's going to try and get that upper hand, because Sony, like you said, does not have a ton of marketable properties within their stable at this point in time. They've pretty much killed off Ghostbusters for any point of realm for the next, many years, and so many other franchises that they've managed to bungle. Spider-Man is only now a viable property again because of the assistance of Marvel. So there's a lot to look at there with the 007 franchise and Sony wanting to keep that, but the bidding will be high. I'm going to be, I think you and I both will agree with between Sony, Universal, 20th Century Fox, and Apple and Amazon. There's some definite, bidders out there that are going to bid on this entire franchise.
It's going to go high, and it's going to be an interesting shakedown once all the numbers are kind of laid out on what that means.
Definitely, indeed.
Speaking of Disney, Francis Xavier Atencio is a Disney animator and Imagineer who passed away today at the age of 98. For those of you that don't know what an Imagineer is, it's basically an imagining engineer who the primary role was to basically engineer attractions at theme parks, and in this case, bring attractions to life that were based on Disney properties. As an animator, X, as he was known, worked on Pinocchio, worked on Fantasia. He also was responsible for a lot of the stuff that you see in the Haunted Mansion attractions and Pirates of the Caribbean, as well as other landmark Disney attractions. Obviously a great talent. This got me thinking, though, what is the future of amusement parks, and how are they going to be tied into it, and how is that science of Imagineering being passed on? Because it feels like you can't really go to school for something like that. Is it always going to be, here's a big movie, here's something, and here's a roller coaster with the sticker on the side of it for the logo of the movie? What is the science of bringing experiences to an audience? Where is that going to lead us going forward? Do you have any thoughts?
Well, actually, I do. And actually worked, his brilliance working with the Pirates of the Caribbean actually worked that the other way around, where it was the ride first and it was so enjoyable and became such a staple and a mainstay of the entire Disneyland landscape with Disney World and just all the different and numerous theme parks Disney has around the world. That, look what happened. A box office smash hit series came out of it.
Same with the Haunted Mansion.
Yeah, same with the Haunted Mansion, although that kind of not quite the numbers that the Pirates of the Caribbean series has done. I'm still waiting for that Haunted Mansion sequel to come out anytime soon. So, anyways, but you get my drift as far as it worked the other way around. Going forward, you're right. A lot of the studios and a lot of the theme parks that are out there. Magic Mountain series, excuse me, Six Flags series that goes all over the country in the United States, also as well Universal, and then also as well Disney has even gotten their feet into it with the Avatar series, and now Star Wars Land, where they're just getting properties and building properties and rides off of it. So you're seeing that now the other way around, and going back, that could it be a lost art? It definitely could be a lost art as far as that type of concept and engineering is concerned. But hopefully, there will be someone out there going forward in the future, whether they through Disney, through Universal Studios, through what have you, will still be able to capture that magic. We'll still be able to say, what do the people coming to these theme parks actually want to do? And that's something and what do they want to experience? And that's something I hope will still come into play, and somebody will be able to regain that magic once again.
I haven't gone to the Wizarding World of Harry Potter in either Florida or LA, and I haven't seen the new Avatar land at Animal Kingdom in Disney World in Orlando. Neither of those seems really that appealing to me. Maybe the Harry Potter a little bit more, but it doesn't feel like anything that I've read that it is something brand new.
It's not brand new though. It is something familiar. I went to the Orlando
it just
one
doesn't
last year.
feel like something that I gotta do. There's no impetus to be a part of that. There's no wonder, because I feel like I've seen the movies. I'm kind of done with them because there are 8 of them.
But
And
it doesn't sound like you're a top-notch, top-tier fan like me. You're not
I
a top
love
tier.
the Harry Potter series. I just feel like I've got enough out of it. I don't think that I'm going to get much more by having a glass of butterbeer and being surrounded by, the landscape.
My wife enjoyed it thoroughly because she is a huge fan. I did have butterbeer there, and it didn't taste so good. So, anyways, outside of that, and it does, especially the Orlando part, from what I've been able to conversate with people in regards to the California versus Orlando, the Orlando version of the Harry Potter world is actually a more extensive recreation of it, because obviously space issues were probably the primary concern. But it just seems like it's a great recreation for those who enjoy the books as opposed to the movies, who are real followers of the books and whatnot. Those who follow the movies or watch the movies, maybe like I did, it was all right, but I wanted to see other parts of the Universal theme park myself. So I can understand that aspect of it. But yeah, is there going to be that one individual that's going to recapture the imagination for those? Or is it going to go, you see now, Rob, when you go to a Disneyland, a Disney World, what have you, that they're more interactive or, augmented reality, virtual reality type themes that are going to be actually implemented within these rides. So that's something that the animatronics, whatnot, those may go by the wayside in the future and be replaced by a whole virtual or augmented reality type format.
Well, anybody that knows me knows my thoughts on replacing the tangible with the synthetic and the digital, and I think that's a big mistake. I think part of the charm for stuff that is at Disney World and Disneyland are these experiences that are not based on movies. Pirates of the Caribbean, like you said, was not based on a movie. The ride existed first. Same with Haunted Mansion. Those were experiences that you could only have there, in your first contact with that was in Disneyland or Disney World. So like the film was borrowing off that magic from the ride, and so the ride could exist on its own instead of being a parody or shorter version of the film experience that the viewer had. So more of that is what I think is great. I got to point to Star Wars again. I think the Star Wars land seems like there's going to be a whole new Star Wars experience for people that exists completely outside of the film in ways that Harry Potter Wizarding World doesn't purport to do for a guest. So that'll be.
Well, I'm hoping you're right on that, because I want to go in 2019. So that's like,
you're a madman if you're going to go the opening year of that. But I know that you are mad and that you will likely do it.
Yeah, I just think it would be really a cool trip. So yes, it is going to be crowded indeed, and I'll fight the crowds for it. But just seems like a great time indeed. But I want to pay respects to obviously the family and condolences on his passing. And I'm just hoping, again, like I said, that these theme parks will around the world will be able to gain that vision and understand what makes these theme parks work, and why do so many millions of people go to these theme parks, and what are they looking for, and be able to recapture that magic instead of just going ahead and, oh, let's take this property all the time and just, trying to implement something that's okay, but not really something that's going to make a memorable experience.
Moving on, I recently caught an interview with Michael Keaton, who talked about leaving Batman 3, which was the pseudo title for the follow-up film to Batman Returns, in which both he and Tim Burton were attached to, of course, after the first Batman Returns. This was the third one, and it was a different script than what Batman Forever came to be known as, that was directed by Joel Schumacher and Val Kilmer in the role of the Dark Knight. Michael Keaton had this to say about Batman 3. The film just wasn't any good, man. I tried to be patient, but after a certain point, I was like, I can't take this anymore. This is going to be horrible. But look, there was some really horrible taste in the 90s, and I probably contributed to that, unfortunately. It was a time of nouveau riche excess. Everyone was known for their jets and their stuff. And I thought, I'm in this job for the long run. I don't want this. And the truth is, I'm not boasting, but I was correct. There are a whole load of people who ran things that are long gone. Now, very interesting comments from Michael Keaton, who's getting a bit of a career resurgence in the last few years. And thanks to something like Birdman, putting him back on the map, which is about an actor who's plagued by this role that helped define him. Glad to see him in a lot of things, and very interesting stuff when you start researching Batman 3, when Tim Burton was off it, when he was off it, the circumstances of that, which led to Tim Burton getting like the Superman Live script with Kevin Smith having a part in writing that screenplay. Simple question, though. Do we wish we could see Michael Keaton return as Batman?
Well, I definitely want to see if there's going to be an actual revival of Beetlejuice. I know my daughter was asking today, coincidentally, not knowing about this conversation ahead of time, that, Dad, what's Beetlejuice? And so I had to explain to her that, because she was familiar that Michael Keaton had played in the role, but she didn't know what it was all about. So I had to explain that to her. And then also as far as Alec Baldwin and, obviously as well, everybody involved in the cast that still may be around to do a revival, and then hopefully that will take place. But getting back to Batman, is it effective enough for him to step into the role of a Batman? At this point, I don't know. It all depends on the DC universe, because the DC universe, as you know, is just all out of control in the way it is targeting out what it wants to do and what it wants to accomplish for viewers. Right now, it's Justice League, but with the tenuous situation with the Batfleck, Ben Affleck, of course, anything goes at this point. And if he's up to it, I wouldn't say it's such a half-baked idea to put Michael Keaton back in the role he's most famous for.
The one idea that I saw online, and I can't remember who I read it, whether it was a column, whether it was a suggestion, whether it was someone on Facebook, would be to have Michael Keaton come back as Bruce Wayne in a Batman Beyond flick. So for those of you unfamiliar with the concept of Batman Beyond, it's essentially the future of Gotham City. Bruce Wayne is in his 80s, and he's essentially playing mentor or like an Oracle-like figure to a new Batman who's taken up the mantle. And it would be based on the cartoon series of the same name, Batman Beyond, which of course is, Bruce Timm, Paul Dini, all those guys from WB Animation. And the cool twist with the very last episode is we find out the guy who's the new Batman, his name is Terry, is actually a secret clone of Bruce Wayne that was developed by Cadmus and Amanda Waller. So there's a really cool kind of twist plot there. But to have basically Michael Keaton as an older Batman down the road mentoring this guy, basically kind of like in the role of Alfred to Batman, but a little bit more of a curmudgeon since he had been through the ringer himself, I think that would work really, really well.
I don't disagree with you on that one either. I think Michael Keaton, like you said, is a hot property right now. American Assassin's coming out, I believe, this weekend, as far as for audiences, and he's going to play guess what? A mentoring role once again, as you just so aptly described. So if people want to get a taste of what that might look like as far as him being a mentor within the Batman universe, definitely check out American Assassin then. And well, if that's the case, I wouldn't see it as an issue either. But it all depends on how DC. I think it all falls when we're talking about anything with Batman and a whole lot when it concerns the Justice League and all the different shades of DC universe. It goes back to DC and how you manage and how you project out your schedule and make things sensible and cohesive for the audience. I don't have very much faith at this point that DC will be able to handle this properly. Where even if Justice League comes out very well, they don't have the greatest track record in the world with quality films. The two last year were pretty much, even though they did make quite a bit of money, they both came out to such poor reception. I'm not sure if they were able to get or land a property like this, like you were saying, with Michael Keaton in that role. I think that's definitely some apprehension with me as far as seeing it successfully pulled off.
I'm going to switch gears to the music side of things. This is something we don't really talk about a lot on this show. I don't know if you guys talk about it extensively on the other podcasts that we have as part of our little network here, but Gene Simmons has finally opened up about this long gestating project that he's been hoping to get out there. It's been called a bunch of different things. It's been called Monster. It's been called Vault. It's been called a bunch of different things. It is officially called The Vault, and it is a box set, and it's of 150 songs of never released material by Gene Simmons, of course, of Kiss, the bass player from Kiss. And it includes notable rock and roll artists from Kiss, past and present, of course, and other cameos like Bob Dylan and Eddie and Alex Van Halen during like the Love Gun era, where there was a bunch of songs that were recorded but never released. Now, this material has been teased to fans for years and years and years, okay? Now, you can finally get it, but it's incredibly expensive. For $2,000, you can attend one of 20 experiences that are across the world in which you'll get this box set of all these CDs handed to you, personalized and autographed by Gene Simmons. For 25 grand, you can attend one of 11 producer experiences, which basically get you to hang out in a recording studio with Gene while you're listening to tracks from the vault. And for 50 grand, Gene Simmons will deliver all this kind of stuff to you and up to 25 of your friends at your house, and you can hang out for 2 hours with the God of Thunder, as the kind of promo stuff says there. He was asked, is Kiss getting another album? What are they going to do? He goes, why would I spend 6 months to a year doing an album when people are going to instantly download it for free? So this is the only way you'll ever be able to get this kind of new music from Kiss. Kiss is not a charity. And that made me think, have we found a way around online piracy yet? And what is the value of music and movies in our world?
It's not as much as it used to be, because I think with the turn of the century and the rise of Napster, that devalued the music industry as a whole as far as what you can do and what you can profit from it. I'm just hoping he'll, there's rumors of him getting back in some form or fashion with Ace Frehley, and that would be nice to see those two back together again. But that being said, I think with I know Josh actually was joking about it on one of our previous episodes, but it was a reality earlier this century where Napster was such a huge force within the industry as far as from a pirating standpoint, and people having access to so many songs so easily without having to pay for it. And it's just at this point in time, him wanting that type of people will pay for that. I guess if they're really diehard Kiss fans, and leave it to Kiss to mass merchandise something like this at this level, being seeing how they are pretty much the one of the first to go ahead and really mass market themselves as a musical group, as far as with the whole idea of memorabilia, and from everything from lunch boxes to the entire
Action figures, comic books, movies, appearances.
cartoon series, you know,
Yeah.
the whole nine yards. So they were pretty much the instigators for that, all of that. And this doesn't surprise me at all, as far as, especially with the high price tags involved, because you and I have seen this with other aspects of the pop culture environment, you know, wanting high prices. I mean, we see this all the time with video games, where if you want the collector's edition that really doesn't do much for you, that isn't so rare, it's not going to become a valuable collector's item. It's just a high price statue or something like that. We see that all the time when we're dealing with video games. So this doesn't come to any shock to me. And obviously in today's you know, Kickstarter, Indiegogo, you know, that GoFundMe environment, this doesn't really seem to be much of a stretch at all. And if somebody really wants that experience and wants to pay $50,000 for it, I guess go ahead and do it. But it to me, it's not for me. But it's not for most people out there as well. So
See,
I guess
I gotta pick a bone here with you, and on a point that you made earlier there. You said Napster has devalued music and entertainment. I don't think it has. I think it's done actually quite the opposite. I think it has actually shown the value and shown how voracious we want to devour media. If anything, it has like really reinvigorated the value of content and media, and how quickly we can absorb it all and churn through it and binge watch and see things and you know, comprehend it and want more and more and more. This is of course a different kind of value than maybe you were getting at in terms of the monetary sense versus the actual value with a capital V of what this material is, and it's a place of importance within our world. But I think it really shows that we need this stuff. We're seeing maybe a AAA artist, if you want to call Kiss a AAA artist, saying, no, the only way you're going to get this is by paying $2,000. I'm guessing with the idea of whoever's going to pay for $2,000 would not want to just give it away for free by uploading it so everybody else can have it.
but
Because my thought was, well, what's going to stop somebody that buys this from doing that? And I guess, you know, if they're shelling out so much money, then that's going to stop it. But I think because of the three things that I mentioned to get it, you're really paying for the experience to hang out with Kiss and Gene Simmons. You're not really paying for the music at that point. The music is ancillary. You're getting that opportunity.
yeah, and that's basically, it's just a personal appearance fee from that point forward, correct?
That's what it feels like to me, anyways.
Definitely to me as well. And it's just that, you know, leave it to Gene Simmons to come up with something like that. You know, if they ever got together in full, in mass, as far as Kiss is concerned, you know, a Kiss reunion tour would do pretty good. You know, it'd fill out some arenas and whatnot.
I feel like they're still going, though. Like, I went to one farewell tour in 2002, and like 2 years later, they were playing at the Salt Lake City Olympics. Like, how for so long farewell? What? Wait a second.
You know, like Cher as well. So,
Yeah.
but I don't think they would do quite as well as, let's say, someone like the Rolling Stones or U2 as far as that level. But I do think that they would have a strong tour as far as the number of people that would go on attend. But like I said, to me, I just think it has devalued it in some point where it's just it just shows that people do covet music, do want music, but they're willing to go ahead and do anything they can to get it at a much cheaper and all, you know, if not free price. So
Yeah,
that's my opinion on it. But
yeah, the demand is there. I think we can agree the demand for media,
course.
movies, music is there. Now it comes to what is the market for it. And because Netflix is $10 a month, people have basically said that's what this material is worth it now, instead of $10 per CD or $10 per movie.
Well, until piracy is put under control, which I don't see happening anytime soon, the recent McGregor fight with Mayweather, that I think read articles that it was somewhere in the neighborhood of 100 million illegal downloads. That, you know, it's so hard to control and so hard to get out there that it's really going to be hard to gauge how successful an industry is in entertainment 100%. I mean, you've even talked about it when it comes to Nintendo Quest. I've heard you in discussions in regards to it on social media, and gone back and forth with individuals. If my memory serves correct, about how piracy affects you as someone who does
over 500,000 illegal downloaded copies of Nintendo Quest.
Exactly, and that's just multiply the numbers. Okay, let's say $20 a DVD.
Just give me $1, and people could have had 2 sequels by now.
Exactly, and they don't understand how these things affect them. So it's definitely some good point indeed. But yeah, you're basically, it's a personal appearance fee. Although I would rather see Gene Simmons, do a sequel with Tom Selleck and run away. That's what I'm going back in the Wayback Machine there and see if they could still do it, because I thought he was actually a pretty good villain in the movie. But that's just me. So.
Well, I've got lots of thoughts on the way that technology has changed and the way that we consume media and the trends and what we might have to do, whether it's looking at video games, looking at free-to-play market as another emerging stuff in games, and how that relates to music, movies, and media. But we'll save that for another talk. This kind of concludes all the topics that I had for our little cosmic roundtable. Gerald, I want to say thanks again for allowing me to kind of take over the hosting reins for another week as I kind of scour the interweb for topics that we can discuss that relate a little bit more universally.
Well, you're always welcome to do so, and I just appreciate you taking the time to talk about it. I know with your busy schedule, with everything going on, and in fact, I don't want to let you go without doing your best number as far as the man I learned from when it comes to plugging their own material. There's a lot of things still going on with Tiny Titan Studios, and of course, Rob McCallum Films.
Yeah, you definitely got to check out Tiny Rails on iOS and Android. It's a free-to-play game about taking your pixelized train all over the world, super casual. When you put your phone away, your train keeps traveling in the background. Whether you want to be like the passenger prince of the world or the cargo king, you can have fun checking out the entire 8-bit or 16-bit aesthetic kind of world that we live in by the courtesy of your train that'll take you there and beyond. Who knows? It's also on Steam for $9.99, $10 if you want to avoid those paywalls and you don't want to wait on any timers and stuff. Plus, there's a few different features that function on Steam compared to the mobile version of that. We just released our South America expansion, and we introduced a new feature of station building. So check out Tiny Rails today, and Dash Quest, which is our flagship game. Very much a Legend of Zelda endless runner with amazing RPG elements in it and a lot of arcade hack and slash fun. Check out those 2 games.
But there's also a movie which I was, kind of led people in on, that you also want to talk about, that debuted recently in my hometown of Torrance, California.
Torrance, California played host to PowerCon last weekend, which is the world premiere event for He-Man and She-Ra fans. And so it should come by no surprise, people that know me, that that was our spot for having our world premiere of Power of Grayskull, the definitive history of He-Man and the Masters of the Universe. I was not in attendance, but 2 of our team did go down to represent the film and showcase it. And it went over very well. The fans were very impressed with what we have put together for that and the story that we've been able to share and tell by the people that we met and interviewed. So we continue to look for a good strategic distribution partner so that we can release this full scale and en masse, and that will be your chance to check it out.
Awesome. Definitely looking forward to it indeed, and hopefully I won't get the chance to download it illegally. There you go.
Yeah, that would be probably poor if that happened before a distribution deal, especially.
Exactly. Hey, Rob, I just watched it, and you're just like, it's not even out
really? Because I haven't even seen it yet, Gerald.
No, exactly.
I may have seen it.
I think you have once or twice. But anyways, Rob, it's always great to talk to you, especially bringing up the latest topics in pop culture. You're always welcome to come back on the show to do so. I always love these great pop talks whenever we get a chance to chat right here on the Pop Culture Cosmos.
That was no smooth chai tea latte that time.
It wasn't indeed, but I do, as always, appreciate you coming on the show.
Thanks.